Okay, working on the top cover now, and I think this is the first and second shift fork, which is supposed to wear more, but it feels like there's a lot of material left here. Third and fourth don't feel quite as good. There's worn down quite a bit, I think, so hope I can get a new fork. And this is the reverse. So I guess the first step is to take out these three screws that have, I guess, a ball and a spring under them. And these are the switches to prevent the overdrive from engaging when you're in reverse and first and second. So I guess that means this is first here. Okay, this is what I have out so far. It was extremely loose on this plug, so I counted the turns. It was 5.5 turns to get it off. I think you adjust the tension on the spring to get the right pressure, but I wanted to know where I wanted to have a starting point. Okay, the first and second gear plunger thing, there was no spacer between the set screw, cap, plug, whatever, and the spring. And this spring is definitely beefier than the other ones. And I think there's still more pieces down in there to retrieve. Okay, there was a ball on the first and second gear in this hole I've been working on. In reverse and third and fourth have a plunger. So I don't know if that's correct, but that's the way it's coming apart. Okay, it's apart. The book says to take the center shaft out first, but I tried and I could not get the thing to come out. It would lock seemingly after the indents that hold it in here. But I was able to get out the first and second gear shaft. Still couldn't get the middle shaft out. Then I got the reverse shaft out, and finally the middle shaft came out. And after all that, I did get the two ball bearings out. And there is a little pin in here, which I didn't lose, thankfully, that provides the interlock with the ball bearings. Looks like that might be fun to get back together in there. I think they initially put it together through these holes, but hopefully I can put it together without having to drill those out. Okay, getting back to the starter, I had a broken spring on mine. So I have this other starter. This is from a 25550B, and I have a 25550A starter here, and for parts, and the springs are not the same. These lugs are set up for, well, they're split, and on my lugs they're not split, and the spring goes around the terminal. So now I'm looking at maybe using this end cap on my starter, since I already
waiting for
powder
transmission
coated the
parts to arrive,
housing
so
and all.
giving this casing a good scrub.
Still waiting on parts and machine shop for my Overdrive, so my whole shop is constipated. I can't get projects in or out, but at least I got this new butane solder torch. I was having trouble getting the brushes out, and this guy heated it up nicely, and I was able to remove the old brushes. And so now I just crimped the new one in, and I'm going to use the butane to solder it in. Oops, didn't light that time. There we go. Using the dial indicator to the little plate on my sun gear, I measured all the movement of the sun gear multiple times with different spacers. I had this shim in here, and then I had different, where is he? Had different thickness, old thrust washers. And after measuring it a dozen times, I finally settled on 153.5 mils is the thickness I need, which of course you can't get, but I'm going to have this machined down to that dimension. So there's a chance I could actually be putting this back together before too long. Okay, after only 7 short weeks, I have my custom machined thrust washer here, and I've put it together dry, measured the float, and it's just about perfect. So hopefully this will be the last time I have to put this thing together. I've had it together and apart probably 30 times now, measuring and checking and so on. Okay, the unidirectional clutch is in. I was able to put a rubber band around those roller bearings, gradually work them in, and then twist in the center to tighten the spring and drop it in. Getting pretty good at it after all these trials. 7 weeks of waiting, 5 minutes of work, and now I'm stuck again. I dropped this and it broke. Hopefully it was week before and I caught something by accident, but now I gotta wait for one of these. Seems like a miracle, but my thrust washer came in and I put it together, and for like the 3rd time I put this whole works together and it still spins. It's got to put that plate on very straight, otherwise it binds a little bit and this won't spin. So I was spinning it as I tightened it down, and I thought this clutch would move a long ways, but it only moves a hair between overdrive and non-overdrive position. So hopefully it'll go faster now. So I got the operating pistons cleaned up. I've got new O-rings for them, so I'm going to take these old ones off, change those, and hopefully put them in with a little tranny fluid. Pistons are in. I filled up not filled up, but I put a couple squirts of tranny fluid in before the piston, and I, of course, lubricated the seal on the side of the piston and popped it in. I've read that sometimes it's hard to get the air out, and so when I pushed the pistons in, I did get a nice squirt of oil out the, I don't know what you call that, the operating valve. So at least some of the air is out. Of course, like an idiot, I put the pistons in the wrong way. They're upside down. Now I get to take them out again. Okay, fortunately it wasn't too hard to turn those over. I was able to pull them out with a magnet, but I was worried that they wouldn't come out easy. And then I have the retainers on there now. So what happens is there's a pump that builds up pressure, and when you throw this lever here, you can't really see it, but it lets the pressure come into behind these two pistons, and they push these retainers, which pulls the clutch in this orientation up and engages the brake ring on this sliding clutch down in here. Okay, up to oil pump installation. I have a 1032 by 3-inch screw, 2 of them, that will be used to pull the pump into the body here. Okay, this went in a little harder than I would have hoped. I had to use the press to get it in there, and there's how the holes line up. And what else? There's a flat on the back side of this that rides on a peg that's back in there. You can't see it, but you got to put this in the right orientation. Okay, the check valve is in down here. Just a bolt, spring, plunger, and ball. And I did get a new ball for that. These balls work in a lot of different places on this. And putting the filter in. Got the seal for the cap. I have 3 magnetic rings and the strainer, which has been cleaned. That's just on top of the oil pump. This was really chewed up, so I filed it down and tried to pound these back flat after somebody used a chisel to open it. So this guy's all set now. Okay, I put a new O-ring on my accumulator and then put the piston in. This ring is a little bit bent. I hope that's going to be okay. And then mine had a washer in here, which is the trick for getting more oil pressure. So I guess I'll put that back and then measure with it and see if I need a thicker one or not. It's pretty easy to get the piston in. Just get your fingernails and compress the rings and push it in. I put a little tranny fluid on it, and now I'm going to put tranny fluid on here and put it in the casting. Okay, my overdrive is a little different than shown in the book. I've got this tube and a single spring, and the other ones have a dual spring and I guess no tube. But there's the piston. I'm going to drop my washer in, put the spring in, put the tube on, and then a new O-ring around this shaft and the cover on. Okay, there's the new, I think it's called operating shaft O-ring, and I've cleaned this very well. I'm going to clean it off with alcohol again, and then use the gray Permatex gasket maker instead of the paper gaskets. Their tech support assured me it would work better, and I have had very good luck with it. So I'm going to hopefully have it work this time. I put the operating valve in just loosely because I'm going to have to take this back out to measure the pressure. But then I have this shaft on his little pedestal here. And now I'm going to put the keeper end on here with the new O-ring. I just put a drill bit in here to hold one side so it's lined up, and I can tap this through. It's kind of hard to hold it, line it up, and tap it at the same time without something to guide it. Okay, so the oil pump is in, and then I have the cam on, and then I'm going to have to take this back out, but to hold the oil pump plunger down, I used a few feeler gauges and then rotated the cam to push it down extra far, and then wired it so that it's not in the way of this cam sliding in and out when I hopefully put the whole thing together.